This is Andi Purewal for ID Boxing, and I'm up here in Manchester, and I'm joined by Campbell Hatton. Campbell, it's a pleasure to catch up with you. How's life? How's things going?
Yeah, all good, mate. Just getting ready for the 6th now, so it's going to be my last hard week next week, and just flying at the minute.
Obviously, getting back out August 6th, as you mentioned. Talk to me about this camp for yourself, Campbell. This will be your third outing of the year. How have you found everything as it's progressed? We've just spoken off camera about trying to make sure your body just doesn't become overwhelmed or tired by the activity you want to have throughout this year.
Yeah, so the aim for us is to be as busy as possible. I think I've got all the tools to be a top fighter, but the one area I am lacking is the experience, and I've got a lot of learning to do. So the only way to overcome that is by being active and busy, where I've got good people around me where for example, last time out we'd had, I think it was my 7th fight in about 14 months, where that really, really busy, and just slowly started feeling like little bits of tiredness coming into it, and like not injuries or anything like that, but you know, where just you can feel the year catching up with me a bit. And I've got like good people where they've spotted that, and then they said, right, we've done well to get this many fights in. Now we'll have a little rest, and we're not talking long. I think I probably had about 3 weeks where even that I will have been ticking over a little bit, but we've just tapered it down a bit and recharged the batteries. Like I went away, just had a little bit of time chilling out, being a normal 21-year-old, because I've not even had a chance to celebrate that yet. But so we went away, and I've come back full of energy, and I've been absolutely flying. We feel like we've slipped a couple of gears now, and I think the rest has done me good. So, like, Matchroom have been great to say, yeah, go and have that time and like let me recharge the batteries. And obviously Matt's been there as a fighter himself. My dad, the same, and we've got 258 there where we're just being smart with it. Like, we listen to my body, and we've had that rest, and we can look to finish the year nice and busy again now.
What goes through your mind when you're only 21 years old and you do start to feel that little bit of tiredness though? Does it surprise you? Because, you know, you could look at it and think, oh, I'm 21, I should be feeling fresh, I should be invigorated, wanting to get out as often as possible. Granted, it's a very grueling sport, constantly going through a camp, but does it surprise you? Is it something which you thought, when this scenario might occur, it would be later on in my career when maybe I'm further along challenging for certain titles?
No, do you know what? It weren't... I might be making it sound a bit more than it was. It's like, because it weren't something that we was concerned about, and we could put our finger on it straight away. Like we say, I've shown some more improvements in the fight, and we knew I hadn't gone in there physically my best, like, because we knew I was just slightly starting to get a bit tired, and we knew it weren't anything that's going to be like taking too much toll on me. It was just, we knew we've been at it for a long time now, just a couple of weeks of chilling out, and it's just done me the world of good.
When you reflect on that performance, and before we do come back to August 6th, Campbell, last time out in Manchester, looking at your entire career so far in general, what has been the most pleasing for you? What has made you think, oh, this is where I've progressed more than what I thought I might have done?
Yeah, I'd say I'm most pleased with the fact that in my last 3 performances, I've started to, I think I've got over the pressure side, not fully. I don't think that'll ever fully just go. Like, I think there's always that little bit that other people don't have to deal with, but I've learned how to deal with it now, and I'm getting closer to what we see in the gym on the night, where I think everyone, I got loads of compliments about my performance against Ducker, who's just won the Midland area title the other week. So that's looking at like a really good win and good performance now. And my last fight out, one thing I was pleased with, that it was my first one at the MEN with a crowd, and it would have been dead easy to go back to being overeager and trying too hard to impress, because I've got all my friends and family there, and it's such a big occasion personally, because obviously it was such a big, like, it was like my dad's fortress like years ago, so it was a big deal to go there and box, but I still didn't let it get to my head. And I think this last 3 fights is more like the beginning of my career now, where I'm showing more of what I'm really about, and I still put in we was fairly happy with the performance last time, and we thought I could have done a lot better, not gone in there physically at my best, but we still come away and it was all mainly positive responses. So like we say, it's just building all the time now, and I'm showing more of what I can do.
Last time out, you obviously went to points and successful on the card there, but for yourself, before that, you had 2 back-to-back stoppages. How much of a relief did you feel that was for you to get that kind of off your chest, get that off your mind, so then you can just look towards putting on a performance that you're happy with and not worry about or have it in the back of your mind, I need to get this first stoppage?
Yeah, so when we went out to Bilbao and I got that first one, going into my next one, it was just completely out of my mind then. So my mindset in the fight was listening to Matt and thinking and boxing, like showing that side of it, because I'd show myself, right, I've got that stoppage now, don't need to, like, that's done, that's ticked off the list, and now I can go in there and think about things, and I think that's where I'll start seeing more stoppages. Obviously, last time I went to points when the guy, the Argentinian lad I fought, he's never been stopped, and he's been in there with good opposition, like Ryland Charlton. I think he boxed Adam Cope not long ago, so not long before I did, so he's obviously a tough lad and don't really get stopped. So I think if I'd have tried to go in there and bomb him out like I was doing early in my career, it'd have just got really scrappy and I'd made hard work of it. So I think by just putting it out, like now it's out my head, I can just start thinking and show that I am a lot more clever in the ring than I've shown before.
I remember speaking to you about this previously. I remember asking Eddie this as well, back when you was at that early stage of your career, when you was maybe hunting the stoppage a little bit more instead of letting it come naturally like it did in Bilbao, as you mentioned. Was it worth taking you away from those big shows that you had? You've been on big shows throughout your career. Eddie joked, they're all big shows, but obviously some are bigger than others.
Yeah.
Going out there to Bilbao, coming back, fighting on smaller shows, looking at the next Gen show on August 6th for your next out on. Do you feel like that's helped your career more so than constantly having been on, say, an AJ Usyk card out at the Tottenham ground back in September?
Yeah, so a combination of the both I think is good, where it's great experience for me being on these big cards, where my ambition is to be top of the bill myself one day. So if I can like get used to it now, where say I go into a title fight of some sort down the line 50-50, and it might be the first time my opponent's been in that situation, whereas for me it'll be nothing new. So like there's them positives, and obviously it's great exposure for me. And if you flip it on its head with the smaller shows, it's it just takes all that pressure off me. So that's where I can do all my learning. And I think going over to Bilbao, where like there was no eyes on me, and I could just go in there, box to instruction, like, and practice things and think about what I'm doing, and then get that stoppage by doing that. It's just took all pressure off me, and I can go into these other shows with the same mindset. And it was sort of like I proved to myself what I can be like when I am being smart and I'm not just trying to bulldoze and chase a stoppage. So like obviously coming back from Bilbao, the O2 was a big card, like a Coley world title fight, and I showed myself that it's not going to creep back because the show's got big again. Like it's just shown me like the little blueprint of how I've got to approach things, and there'll be no going back to it now.
August 6th, Sheffield, as we've mentioned. Campbell, what are you hoping then in that fight you're able to show everybody when they're tuning, whether they're at the arena, whether they're watching on DAZN? What are you hoping to showcase? Yeah,
more improvements be the main thing, and the opponent, like, it's not been announced yet, but it's a step up. He's got a winning record, experienced fighter, coming off. He lost last time out, but like before that, I think he'd won his last 10 fights or something. So he's is a big test, and I think that's going to bring the best out of me. So I just want to show more clever boxing, because I think I've shown a lot more of the smart stuff and a bit more calculated stuff, but there's still loads more that I'm not showing on the night that I have shown in the gym. So just more and more of that, more clever, more composed, and just look to improve that bit again.
Campbell, the one fight which I've asked you again about previously is the Sonni Martinez one, and if a rematch would ever come about, I know you've said you'd be up for it, Matthew said you'd be up for it, it's just whether or not the paths cross again. Is it something you feel like could happen? Do you feel like you want to make it happen just to kind of prove any doubters wrong who on that night felt that Sonni deserved more from that fight?
Joe, I'm well up for doing it, and obviously the timing's got to be right, and I'll leave that up to Matthew and 258, my dad, like all my team. But I don't see. I'm sure they probably will cross paths again. People still do mention it, and I am well open to it. But like when the time's right, but I don't think it'll be far off now.
What went through your mind around that fight when there were criticisms put towards you, Campbell? Because it wasn't your fault with regards to the judging or what have you. You know, you could only get in there, put on your performance in the ring and try to do your most to win. But obviously criticisms were then put towards you, even though, like I said, it's not your fault how it's played out. What was going through your mind? Did you feel frustrated? Did it get you down?
Yeah, I was down. It was a hard time. I had probably, I can't remember how long, but a good few months away from social media, deleted it off my phone and tried like preventing myself from seeing it all as much as you can. But like I say, it is impossible to fully switch yourself away from it. And I laugh about it now, but when people are trying to console me, saying, "Oh, ignore everyone online and all that," and I go, "Well, they hadn't actually seen it, but it's a nice one for letting me know they are talking about it." But it's one of them, I think. People are entitled to their opinion, and I massively underperformed, and I made it a lot closer than it should have been. But I'm not saying people who thought he won are wrong. I think I won the fight. I thought I just edged it, mainly because I don't think he threw enough shots early on in the fight to take them rounds. So it's one of them where whatever you're looking for or what sort of thing you like. Well, it was a very close fight, and I think it were blown out of proportion. And like you said, I've got no control of how it's been judged. Like, I think the stick I got was massively over the top. But like we say, down the line, I'm sure we will cross paths again, and he'll be in there with a completely different fighter, because that wasn't even the Campbell Hatton that should have got in the ring at the time, let alone the one that we're seeing now. So, yes, what will be, will be.
Would you say that's the fight in your career you feel you've learned the most from, or would you disagree with that?
No, 1,000,000% it is. Obviously, the Bilbao fight was the turning point, but I think obviously it was triggered by that happening, and where it took that fight where I was like a deer in the headlights a bit, coming out to Spurs, and it took that happening for me for us as a team to think, right, we need, like, that was too much. We've all learnt from it, and we went away, like, quite a show, away from the eyes, and that's where things started turning, and I've started performing since then. So yeah, I'd say didn't feel like it at the time, but it's probably one of the best things that's happened to me in my career.
I know over recent months, or probably longer than that, you've built quite a good relationship with Conor Benn, who he went through something similar in the early stages of his career with Cedric Payne. He had the first fight, some criticisms as to how the scoring went with it, had another fight in between, then fought him in a rematch and just outboxed him for that fight and won on points. Did you go to him for kind of advice as to how he dealt with the criticisms he'd received around his original fight with Payne?
Yeah, so I went and spent a bit of time down in Essex, and for loads of reasons, not just the fact that we're in the same, similar positions as far as our careers and the eyes on us, but obviously I went down there because I wanted to spend time with top fighters like Conor, Joe, all the lads down there, John Ryder, and there was that side of it. But like, you hit the nail on the head. He's been in these similar positions where he's he's had that criticism, and it weren't specifically to do with that fight, but just in general. Like people have always been quick to judge him early on in his career, the same as they were with me, and it was just like he told me how he dealt with it, and it was to just ignore him. Like obviously it is easier said than done, but he said just do your thing, like work hard, and like what they're saying doesn't define anything. It doesn't make a difference in the grand scheme of things. I use it as fuel to prove them wrong now. So just got to just keep doing what I'm doing now, and like we're seeing the improvements, and I think with each fight, everything from where it's gone from a really negative point with the Spurs fight, bit by bit we're getting everything's getting a lot more positive again.
Conor's spoken openly about kind of that period to me, about how difficult it was for him to cope with and deal with. I remember after the Paynord rematch, he didn't fight for probably close to a year, and he just stayed in the gym, he just focused on improving, and when he came back he did look like a completely different fighter. Did you have any kind of similar conversations with him? Because like you said, you're still only 21. If you was to go, say, spend 6 months just in the gym working every day, it's not really going to affect the longevity of your career, but we might see a different version when you come back. Did anything like that come up?
Not really, no. Like I say, it worked for Conor. Conor had like a few injuries as well on the sidelines, so because there's one thing Matt's always said to me, he said there'll be periods in your career where you are going to have to be sat on the sidelines, whether you have picked up an injury. So he said he thought it was important that while you're fit and you can box regular, it's important to do it. But like I say, that there's no right or wrong way of going about that, because we have still been constantly working in the gym, even at the times where I've not got a date. I'm still in here. We're still getting the sparring in. We're still working. So it's it seems to work for us, but like touched on it was a hard time, and I was going like for the few weeks after it, I was building it up bigger in my head than it actually was. Where I'd be going, say I went to the shop or something like that, went supermarket, I'd be sort of, like, had my head down or pulled my cap down, because I think, oh, everyone will be looking at me, everyone's talking about it, and realistically, like, they're not. They're just getting on with it. Like, people, like, it's never as big in your head as you think, but it was a tough time, and it weren't my fault either. That's one of the main things, that I'm getting stick for something that was nothing to do with me.
You had no control over.
I don't think it weren't as one-sided as they make out. I don't, like, personally. I think it could have gone either way, but no more than a point, like either way, which was the result. But yeah, that's it. Looking forward to putting that right now and getting past it.
You mentioned earlier the pressure situation that you'll feel in your career, and any boxer when they step in the ring, I imagine they feel pressure performing in front of thousands. I suppose it doesn't help when obviously your father's a British boxing legend. I'm sure if we was to walk outside and he was walking with us, he'd just get hounded by fans and everyone wanted to take a photo with him. Conor's obviously in the same boat, experiencing that with his father Nigel. Did you both kind of speak about that, how to deal with the pressure of the family history you both share within the sport?
Yeah, because there's very few people in the sport that are in the same position as me and Conor. Like, obviously you've got Eubank, and there is others, but I think my dad and Conor's dad were two of the biggest fan favourites out there, especially in the UK. So it's one of them where people are desperate to get behind you, but they sort of expect you to finish off where they left. They expect you to take off from where they finished, and realistically, it doesn't work like that. It took them years to get there, and it's just you've got to have that bit of patience about it. And people would have been saying about Conor, oh, he'll never do what his dad's done early on in his career, and look how far he's come along. And just got to have that patience and realise it's not going to happen overnight. And I think I'm going to have have a similar sort of path as Conor, where like I said at the start, I've got a lot of learning to do, but I'm not working. I'm working as hard, or if not harder, as anyone else. People will think I'll get this little bit of a leg up, and like obviously always there because of the name, which part is true. I've got great opportunities by being Ricky's son and Conor the same being Nigel's son, but I think Conor's proved that, and I'm looking to do the same, where you've got to work harder than people because there's just such a big target on your back, and it's that motivation to prove people wrong.
Campbell, what do you think it will actually take for people to fully understand that you're not your father, you're Campbell Hatton, you're trying to build your own journey and legacy within the sport? You know, look at how Conor's done. Obviously, like I said, he went away, he's come back, and probably from his 16, 17 fight, there's just been this expectation he's getting ever closer towards a big fight. Obviously, talk about the Eubank Jr fight for him now. But for yourself to go down your own path, I think people within boxing understand that it's going to take more time for you to get there. But your father's followers, those who went to Vegas without a ticket to watch him against Floyd Mayweather, for example, they're a bit more like they just want to see it. They want to see the second coming. What do you think it's going to take for them to understand you need more time?
I think it'll just be a case of keep seeing me fight and keep seeing me bit by bit improving. And I think then they'll realise, like, it doesn't happen overnight, where they'll see how quickly the rate of progression is with fighters, where obviously there's more eyes on me, but it's the same for everyone. No one just gets it like that. It's a long process for people, and I think the more they see me and the closer I get to their expectation, they'll start judging me by my last performance more than my dad's greatest performance and things like that.
How much involvement does your father have in your career, Campbell? Because obviously you've got AJ and 258 as your management. I know you'll still probably go to your father for advice about certain things, but then you've got Matthew, your uncle, who trains you. So how much of involvement does your father have?
Yeah, he does. He's one of them where he's not as hands-on. He keeps his distance more as far as training me goes, but like you said, the advice I get from him is it's priceless. He's been there and done it at the very top level. Like, he's been in there with the very best fighters we've had. So the advice I get is second to none. And obviously, when it comes to opponents, as my boxing manager, he's giving his input with things like that, and giving his opinion on my progression and things like that. So yeah. I think we've got the balance spot on, really, where it's not, obviously, not having a dig at it. Like Eubank Senior and Eubank Jr, they've found what works for them. Obviously, everyone's different, but we think it would be more beneficial for us if people do see me separately from my dad and things like that. And I think we've got the balance where he is only down the road or at the end of the phone for when we need him, but it's not too overpowering. And I think because I'm trying to break away from being Ricky's son, so it's hard to do that if he's over my shoulder all the time. And so he is leaving me to it to an extent, but he'll step in when he feels he needs to, or give his input where he feels like he needs to. So it's good.
How much interaction do you have with AJ?
Not loads. Like I was down in Loughborough the other week and was doing a bit of training down there with him and Fraser, and all the 258 fighters are all in a group chat, and we wish each other good luck, and obviously give each other advice and stuff like that. So it's been good, and I've had good advice off him, and like I say, I've got great people around me to advise me.
Just one more on your father. Obviously, he was due to have his exhibition bout recently. He's been pushed back to November against Marco Antonio Barrera. What were your thoughts on it, or what are your thoughts on it?
Do you know what? At first, I was sceptical of. I wasn't against it, but I was thinking, how's it going to work? Is it a proper comeback, or is it just an exhibition? And it was just, obviously, a lot of the proceeds were going to mental health charity, and it was being treated as an exhibition. Obviously, there was training as hard as they ever have. Don't get me wrong, but so I was looking forward to it. The more I saw him getting in shape and getting fit and sharpening up, and I was excited because I think it looked really well. We had a spar ourselves, and you could have done that in a phone box. We proper went at it, and like I say, I was surprised how fit he was, because I knew the boxing brain and the and all the tricks and all the skill, you probably never lose that fully, but the fitness side of it, he did 6-3. He's at a solid pace. We was trying to take each other's heads off, so it was it was a shame when it got put back, but it just gives him that little bit more time to get even fitter and even sharper and keep a bit of timber off even longer. So yeah, looking forward to it when it does eventually come round.
What was that experience like of sparring your father, Campbell? Because
lovely.
You take that one away. What was it like?
Do you know what? The only person who's ever dropped me is my dad when I was about 14, and we had a little spar. So I was trying my absolute hardest to get my own back, but it was a great spar. My granddad came and watched it, and he was just saying, "Can't believe he's watching his son and his grandson fighting." And people was all laughing, saying how it's mad that we're family, and because of how much we were going at it. So it was great learning for me, and great rounds for him preparing for his exhibition. And I'd say it'll have been entertaining for people watching.
Should sell some tickets, mate.
Yeah, should have done.
I take it you're going to be chief sparring partner then for the rest of his camp when he starts back up?
Yeah, it depends on the time. If I'm being busy towards the end of the year, I might not be in shape as he is.
What are you actually like outside of Camp Campbell? You said provided August 6th goes to plan, how do you want to kind of just have a bit of downtime?
Yeah, so I try and learn from my dad's mistakes, where don't go too mad. I do like to eat a little bit of shit food, have a few drinks, and just like the normal stuff that you see people do. But it's sort of getting the right balance where, like, my dad did that, and it eventually caught up with him towards the later end of his career. So I'm getting the hang of it. Not 100% got there yet, but just try and not put the weight on that he used to, and enjoy my time off, because it's well earned. We work hard through our camps, but like I say, I've got the benefit of his experiences in the ring and out the ring, so just everything in moderation, as my nana says.
You mentioned your dad and how much kind of in between fights he'd like to enjoy himself. What's he said to you beyond the exhibition bout? Is he going to try and keep himself in shape?
Yeah, he said he saw a picture of him. I think he was on a Question of Sport or something like that just before he started dieting, and he said in his head he didn't think he looked that bad, because he was training fairly regular. He was drinking a lot less than he was a few years before, so he was in a good place. But he said he saw the picture and he couldn't believe what he was looking at compared to how he's looking now. So no one's expecting him to keep it all off. Why should he? He's worked hard all his life, and he's in a position now where he can do what he wants. But I think by seeing how good he's looking and how good he's feeling at the minute, I think he will keep it off to an extent, and will like I say, everything in moderation.
Campbell, just a couple more before we wrap this up. We were speaking about the sons of boxing legends, and two of them might be coming together very shortly. Conor Benn, someone you know well, and Eubank Jr. Obviously talks about all the rehydration clauses and the catch weight and what have you. But if a fight can be agreed there and it is at a catch weight, what's your take?
Do you know what? I think it really it does depend on what the terms of the contracts are. I think, because obviously, I think I saw in an interview that someone mentioned Eubank, his lightest was about 158, and I think they're talking about 155, 156, and when he was 158, I'm sure it was about 10 years ago. So I think it'll take a lot out of Chris getting down to that. So I would back Conor, especially with a rehydration clause, and I think The way Conor moves his head low really well. So I think it would be hard for Chris to land anything clean on him. I think because he is showing that he can be really elusive now, Conor, and I think Conor has the power. Even though he's not got the size, I think he's definitely got the power to mix it as a middleweight. Obviously, Eubank is tough, but I think Conor would probably stop him. I think how much the weight would take out of him, I think it'd be a big detriment to him. And I think Conor does have heavy enough hands to hurt him anyway. So, yeah, I'd go with Conor, but like you say, if the weight ends up being a higher one and no rehydration clause, that's going to work in Chris's favour. But I am swayed towards Conor.
Away from that one, obviously, we mentioned Joshua earlier, man you work with, and 258. He's out in Saudi now, getting ready for his rematch with Alexander Usyk. Again, your thoughts, that's coming around now quickly, only 2 weeks after you fight.
Yeah, I think, obviously, it's a big ask, and we saw how well Usyk performed in the first fight. And I think you sort of got to treat this as a different fight altogether, because if AJ goes in there with the right tactics, because it was clear to everyone how wrong they got it on the night where he was trying to box him, and I think if you look at it as a completely different fight of an aggressive AJ, I think you've got to give him a chance. I think when you see how marked up Usyk was after the first fight, when he probably only caught him with a handful of shots in the whole fight, and you could see he hurt him at times. AJ, with the odd few that landed, they had an effect. So if you start throwing and landing a few more, I think you've definitely got to give him a chance. But he has got to get it right. I think if anything short of AJ at his very best, Usyk wins. But I definitely won't write him off, and I think if he gets it spot on, I think AJ can do it.
And Campbell, final one, just in and around your weight, we've seen some kind of back and forth between Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia over the last couple of years. Obviously, Ryan Garcia victorious recently. What would be your thoughts again if those two were to agree to a fight and we was to see what would be a huge fight at lightweight?
Yeah, I think I'd have to go with Davis on that one. I think that you've seen when you watch Garcia, his chin can be quite high at times, and says me. But I think David, if he catches him, he's like dynamite in, he comes nice and low, and I think one of them big looping overhand rights, I think he would be there to take him, Garcia. So I'd go with Davis stoppage.
I'm going to correct myself in case people get in the comments, because I saw Ryan saying he wants it a super lightweight, so in case anyone starts saying I've mentioned lightweight. But yeah, Campbell, I appreciate your time today. Obviously, enjoy the last kind of stretch of your camp. Good luck on August 6th, and thank you for speaking to ID Boxing.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
Perfect.
Top
Cheers,
man.
mate.